Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. And what a happy podcast this is going to be. Absolutely. I'd like to welcome you all to the show because it's something I forget to do every single week. So welcome to those in the chat room. If you could press like and subscribe now, that would be fantastic. Tonight's going to be a little bit different again because I'm just about to hand over to the host, Suburban Gooner Chris. He will be hosting the whole evening. I just want to say a couple of bits. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone that came on the show in the chat room with Rebecca Lowe on Thursday night. I've never had so many amazing comments privately as well. It was the most amazing show. She was incredible. And if you want to watch, it is obviously on YouTube and it's downloaded in audio. And it was fantastic. And what she only said about Arteta, go and watch and you can see. Right. That's it, really. Enjoy the show. Over to Chris.
Thank you very much. And thank you all to you, lovely people in the chat and everyone listening to this, whether you're listening to this live or whether or not you are doing what I do, which is I download all of my podcasts and listen to them as I go for a nice cheeky run every single day. So it's always nicer after a victory. And thankfully, we got that yesterday eventually. So I wanted to just start off and kick us off with just some initial thoughts. Let's almost do a little bit of a top line as to how you're feeling. And then I think what we'll do is we'll go into like a chronological order, if you like, which unfortunately we'll start with that Ollie Watkins goal. But let's just I want a 1 minute from each of you. I'll start with you, Cookie, on general feelings, how you're doing right now.
I am elated because if we'd have not picked up all 3 points in yesterday's game, that would have been absolutely crushing. I think, I've got a lot of respect for Villa, for Unai Emery, but they were in the second half, I think, one of the worst sides that we faced this season. So not to have got the result, given everything that's gone against us in recent weeks, I mean, it would have been a real sickener. And I feel like the way in which we've won it, got to use this to galvanise the squad, because after that poor run of results, where we didn't play badly in all of them, but we definitely didn't play to the level that I know we can do. Second half performance was fantastic. It was the Arsenal that we've seen so much of this season. Bring that performance into the game against Leicester. So much to be positive about. Obviously, a few negatives that I'm sure we'll speak about as well. But general feelings, absolutely over the moon at the moment.
Lovely. And the Gooner Princess, or just Amanda, you don't have to call me Suburban Gooner Chris. I have a first name. It's just Chris, to stick on that. So unless you just want me to call you Princess forever, which I'm not.
Well, a lot of people just do call me Princess. But the funny thing is, I just know you as Suburban for years. It's like, is Suburban coming when we used to go to the pub and stuff? What's your question, Christopher?
Feelings. Give me a 1 minute overview as to how you're feeling right now, football related.
Oh, just ecstatic. I mean, we're not going to. I'll go into the match later, but it was make or break, wasn't it? I truly and utterly believe that. It's just the most amazing feeling, and then to watch Forest, and I watched that game, draw in the last few minutes to City. You sort of go, thank you, God, because I tweeted before the game on Wednesday, and I said, just because. Even if we win, it doesn't mean we've won the league. And even if we lose, it doesn't mean we've lost the league, because people were losing their marbles from Wednesday night right up to Saturday. Obviously, we haven't really spoken about Wednesday night, but we all know what happened. We all saw it. We were all there. It was, unfortunately, they deserved it. We just didn't. But I felt quite sad those couple of days, more that all this good work is going to go to waste, because we just couldn't match City in the way that we wanted to. It was desperately gut punching when you found out at 4:00 the party wasn't playing. I sort of lost. I know it sounds weird. On the way to football, I was not the same as I was before a new party was playing. So I felt like lost the game. Jorginho was fantastic, so that was good. But generally, I mean, if you don't love football, you don't know what you're missing.
That is a really good précis in terms of the feelings right now. We have experienced as Arsenal fans the last 8 days of every type of emotion. So I'll talk about my personal journey that I've been on over the last 8 days. Saturday evening, last week into Sunday, frustration. It was frustration. It was anger. We'd been cheated out of something. We talked. I won't dwell on this because we've already talked about it last weekend. But that's the feeling. And then there's nervousness. And then there's a nervousness building up to the Man City game. But it's also an excitement. And then, like you, Amanda, then there's the deflation after the party situation. So now you're feeling deflated on a Wednesday before we go into it. And in our little WhatsApp group, we were saying, like, this is going to be really tough without partying now. And then you go into the game and we start to hold our own. But ultimately, we make the mistakes. And there was a very odd, me personally, I had a very odd feeling at the end of that game. It was a numb feeling, and it was a feeling of numbness because I didn't feel like this was a Man City that's blown us away. I spoke to the guy, Nick, who I stand next to in Block 5. We talked about it after they went, when it was 2-1 to them. I said the frustrating thing is that this isn't one of those games where Man City have popped the ball around us 4 or 5 times and bang, 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 goal. Bang, 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 goal. It wasn't like that. And so for me, again, talking about personal journeys, after that game and the result, I removed my Twitter app. I removed all football notifications. I muted and archived all of my WhatsApp football groups because I was just like, I need just time away from it because I was so deflated. And so then I reinstalled everything on that Saturday morning in prep for the Aston Villa game. And then seeing that first half, and we're going to come to the first half. And I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go back to Amanda, and then I'll go back to you, Cookie. Like that first half and the deflation to then get to the elation of the end. I feel like I've basically gone through like the many stages of grief and then into, acceptance. And now I'm happy again. But Amanda, let's talk about the start. Let's talk about the Villa game. Let's focus on that now, because that's ultimately why we're doing this here podcast today. Before we talk about this, what I want you to do, because I'm going to go positive and then into negative. The positive or the fun is I want you to pick a receptacle of Martinez's tears that you would like to drink from. So any receptacle that you'd like. And then we'll talk about the Ollie Watkins goal and your feelings there. So positive and negative. The receptacle, which of those many mugs of yours are you going to choose to drink Martinez's tears from? And then we'll go into the serious case of the Ollie Watkins goal and just general thoughts around that.
It was incredible. Before we do anything, we've got to wish Tracy happy birthday for yesterday. She has watched the show since day one.
Tracy.
Happy birthday, Tracy. And she's down in Australia, so God knows what time it is for her. But happy birthday, my lovely. And now we will go on to Emmy Martinez's tears. Could you have written it?
No.
I mean, I've never, you just couldn't write it. I'll drink out of any mug, because when I woke up this morning, his header was the first thing I thought about. When you wake up that split second and you go, have Arsenal won? Because it's that split second of waking going, oh, it's Sunday. And I thought, oh, they have, yes. Yes, Emmy, thank you, cheers. Not only that, not only has he got the Arsenal fans laughing at him, his manager's fuming with him. Absolutely fuming to come out on TV and throw Emmy under the bus and say, I never told my goalkeeper to go up front. I mean, and that's the reason you don't. However, they wouldn't have got a draw anyway. The feeling of, that's the word deflation I was looking for. I don't know how many more different feelings we can go through, Chris, to be honest. We've had, coming out Wednesday night of the Emirates was angry, sad, like not shocked, but I just didn't know. We hadn't won for a few games, and like, when's the next win? And I'd been saying all along, Aston Villa's so important, just as important as City. They all become so important. I couldn't see us getting a win on Saturday. They looked tired, they looked jaded, they couldn't score. How many chances does Eddie need? And we need to talk about Eddie later. And then you wake up and you go, and the hope comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to go into the game yet because you're going to talk about the goal, but it was, I went for 2-2. And you're right, you did shut off your WhatsApps because you didn't answer any of mine when I asked you for a prediction or anything. I thought you disappeared off the earth. But Cookie, you went for a win, didn't you? Craig went for a loss. and I went for a draw. I went 2-2. And I just thought, okay, let's just get a point. Let's just try and get a point. Let's not lose. That's more important than anything. And let's get a point, and then we can start again. We've got a week off now. But I didn't know how to feel. I didn't enjoy. I didn't look forward to it, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those that was. I think one of the things I think we all felt, and Cookie, let's start getting into the nuts and bolts and the nitty gritty of the game now, because I think one of my fears was very short turnaround. Played Wednesday night, isn't it just the most Arsenal thing ever that we play Wednesday night and then we're the first game on away from home on a Saturday morning, which I thought, again, Arteta referenced this. Bit harsh in terms of the scheduling, but talk to me about the opening sort of 5-10 minutes, your feelings. Cookie, if we can break this into two, so give me the pre-match in terms of the selection. Were you happy with it? And then let's dig into that first 5 minutes and how you felt, particularly with that Ollie Watkins goal.
So regarding the selection, I wasn't surprised at all by it. I think the one obvious change that a lot of us were discussing previously was Trossard coming in for Martinelli. But what I really liked from some of the lineups I was seeing predicted by the likes of Gunner Blog and various other guys was the switch from Martinelli going from the left into the middle and having Trossard on the left as well with Saka on the right. I just thought that front three, it's experimental and maybe it's too big of a change. Maybe it's a bit too reactionary. I totally understood that, but I just loved how dangerous it could be. So that was something I was definitely keen to see. And another one that I was really up for was Kieran Tierney. I really wanted him to start this game. And I think justifiably so based on that first half. And, I'll eat my words, because in the second half, we'll talk about Zinchenko because he was imperious in that second half, scored a great goal. But there were a lot of things he did wrong in the first half. And the opening goal was on him. It wasn't just on him. I think Saliba could have done a bit better at shepherding Ollie Watkins out further wide. But I mean, it's a shoulder against shoulder. It's always going to be difficult with a top striker like Ollie Watkins bearing down on goal. But it ultimately stems from that Zinchenko mistake. And he's looked a little bit haphazard. He's looked a little bit too demanding of the ball at times. And as I say, I don't want to lay into him too much because his second half was great and he certainly made amends for what was a poor first half. But it's not like him to lose possession that sloppily, and it was sloppy. And it wasn't just him that was doing it throughout the course of the game. The problems that I think we've seen in recent weeks stemming all the way from the Everton game, and that we've not been able to string two passes together, or we've strung them together, but then it's the final one that's been really poor. Our just passing game hasn't been as zippy, hasn't had the technique and accuracy that's been associated with Arsenal this season. So, yeah, it was disappointing. And when Watkins got that goal, I mean, fantastic finish, credit to him. I think a lot of people have been saying Ramsdale could have done better. I'm not too sure. I thought it was a really great goal. You've got to hold your hands up and say it's a great finish. But that's all right. No worries. Getting too excited, are we? It was my feeling at that moment, just after he scored, was please do not let this be a 3-0 Aston Villa, because it really felt like it had all the makings of those games we've seen, in years gone by, going all the way back to 2012-13, 2013-14. We'd go early, go a goal down early to Stoke City, Jonathan Walters, and that'd be it. The game would be gone. I've got so many memories of those types of games etched into my brain. I wish I didn't, because those were horrible games, but it happened all too often. We'd go away from home, concede early, and we'd just be out of the game, and we'd go on to lose about 3-4-0 to relatively mid-table sides. Southampton away, God knows how many times we went there and got turned over. So I was apprehensive, I was worried, but credit to the team for responding really well to going down initially. Obviously conceded again and then responded really well to that as well. But we'll get into that later. But yeah, my opening feelings in the game were very much of apprehension, but the team turned it around.
It felt disjointed to me. It felt like we were carrying the hangover of the recent stuttering start. And I think I said last week, I don't know if I said it on the pod or whether I was just talking to you guys about it. My fear was this was the blip, and this was a bit like the 2007-2008 blip where we drew like 4 games in a row and we went from being a few points clear to being about 4 or 5 points off of United because we drew 4 games in a row. They just kept on winning. So that was my big fear, and it almost felt like that was unraveling, or that was being played out in front of our very eyes, because, you know, within the first and let's be honest, that was their first attempt at goal. And let's actually make this right. We were poor in that first half. I think we could single out some players. They've all been so amazing this season, and so I'm not trying to dig them out too much. But I thought Zinchenko held on to the ball a little bit too much at times. I thought his distribution wasn't great, as you said, Cookie. He lost the ball for that first one, and then just as Matty Cash just drove infield beyond him, and he just wasn't keeping up with his runner. I mean, to be fair to Cash, it's a very good floated ball. Again, Saliba can probably do more, but our passing just felt laborious and a bit slow. And I think Arteta referenced it. But, Amanda, we get back into it within literally 11 minutes. And so this is an Arsenal team that is playing within itself, is not playing that great. I thought Xhaka lost the ball a few times. Zinchenko in that first half lost a few times. Trossard was trying, but he couldn't get beyond his man. So there were challenges, there were issues with the team, but this team, to its credit, responds. And talk to me about the Bukayo Saka goal, because that's a response.
Wow, where would we be without Saka? And every time he gets kicked or goes down, my heart goes, because he is one of the most incredible players I've seen in years. Yeah, I agree with you on the players in the first half. Absolutely. So many mistakes. Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, we could just go on. Xhaka looked like he'd run out of energy. Ødegaard was giving the ball away. It was just a catalogue of errors. However, the goal he scored was like the Arsenal of 3 weeks ago. It was absolutely beautiful. And from that moment, I thought, we're on here. You know, it's 1-1. We're going to win this. I didn't feel it was going to go the way it did, obviously, and then I sort of lost it again. I felt like I'm sure Villa are going to score again, which obviously they did. Did we go in 2-1 half time?
Yeah,
was it 2-1 down? So, folks, just two things. Tierney, what Cookie was saying, I tweeted at half time, we need Tierney on in capitals, and then I repeat, we need Tierney on. I mean, obviously, Cookie and I were wrong, because look what he did. Second half was incredible. But I believe in the first half we needed Tierney. And then I tweeted, because they mentioned on the TV that Arsenal were out 4 minutes earlier than the other team, than Villa. And I looked at Carl and I said, I bet you he's thrown teacups in there. I bet he's gone absolutely mental at them and said, you know what, you've got to look at yourselves and get out there. And I've heard he said, you need to all look at each other, and this is going to define your season, this second half, and where do you want to go with it? I love that, because what Pep did at half time against us, Mikel didn't do at half time against City. But what he's done at half time here has completely changed everything. They came out like it was 3 weeks ago, like we were playing United. It was all us. It was tremendous. And also I pointed out that Emi Martinez, before he headed the goal home for us, he got a quick ball out, and from his ball, they scored their second goal. And as it was coming up the pitch very fast, I said to Carl, why don't we do this? We are so slow, tippy-tappy at the back. We'd still be in our half by the time they'd even gone and scored. And as I was saying it, and you could see he was going to score, what a brilliant dummy and a brilliant shot. And you thought, here we go. It's just not working.
Yeah, just on that though, I think that's a little bit of situation of circumstance, really, because the way in which Villa set up, every time we had the ball, they would drop deep, they would be compressed, and they would make it difficult for us to get positions like on the edge of their box. So as soon as they don't have the ball, they basically just retreat into it themselves. And as us Arsenal fans, as you guys in the comments will probably all be well aware, we've seen an Unai Emery Arsenal team, and we did the same. Like we've seen it play out. And so Emery set them up that without the ball, contract into yourselves, just like Brentford did, just like Newcastle did. That's exactly the game plan he wanted. And so I think it's a bit different with us because we're trying to be the ones that are dry. We're trying to be the ones that are with the impetus and trying to push and press them back. And so the game plan that we have as a team that's top of the league is very different to the game plan that they have. However, you are right in that one of the challenges that we had with that goal, it was a very good goal, by the way. I said this on social media. I said, actually, that is a good goal. But when you rewatch it, there's not enough pressing on the ball. I think Ben White, who's been brilliant all season, Cookie, I'm going to bring you in just to talk about that Coutinho goal. Ben White, who's been brilliant all season, I think he gets turned a little bit easily. Xhaka, all right, he gets his feet a bit tangled up. Fine, it happens. But a couple of things there. And Cookie, give me your thoughts. But for me, too easy for them to transition back to front. And with their second shot of the entire half, they score. But also, a final thing from me, and I will hand over to Cookie because otherwise I'll go into a monologue. Philippe Coutinho is the most single-handedly overrated Premier League footballer I've ever seen, because basically he got a goal, it was a good finish, but did nothing else in the entire game. And that's been his entire career. And yet he's managed to fashion like big money moves. That's a personal issue I have with Coutinho. Take me into a direction, Cookie, in which we're actually talking about this match and the goal, please, for the love of Mohammed.
I want to start talking about the more positive stuff, mate. But you're giving me the
in the second half.
Let's do it quickly.
Let's get this over with. I mean, it was like a hot knife through butter, wasn't it? It came out of absolutely nowhere. Like you say, it was Villa's only real opportunity of the half, aside from the Leon Bailey one that they had, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But it was just, okay, number one, it was a really well-worked move. But there were a catalogue of errors on our part. Like you say, there was no pressing on the ball. Ben White gets sucked in and allows the space for the pass to be made. So it was frustrating in that sense. It just lacked a little bit of urgency from us. We just completely switched off. I'm not sure why that was exactly. You have to say it was a great dummy by Buendia. Coutinho in the right place at the right time. And his first goal in 19 games? Like, of course he was going to score. The script is already written for that. So yeah, that was disappointing. And at that point in the game, I still felt positive, to be honest, because although we were 2-1 behind, there was so much space for us to exploit, as we saw in the second half. And I mean, when we scored in the 93rd minute, obviously, that was euphoric, but we had so many more opportunities to put that game to bed so much earlier than it needed to be done. And when it was half time and we were 2-1 down, I read that horrible statistic that Arsenal haven't won a game from 2-1 behind at half time outside of London since 2009. I was like, okay, that doesn't make for great reading, but if there's ever going to be an opportunity to wipe the slate clean on that one, and if there's ever an Arsenal team to do it, then it's this Arsenal team, because this is a different Arsenal team. And credit to the side, because after that goal, second half, it was, it was as good as it has been this season.
Let's talk about that. Let's move on then from the unpleasantness and move to the pleasantness. And that is that second half. One of the things I will say, though, Cookie, I'm just going to pick you up, not you, but I'm going to pick the media up on this kind of narratives. What a niche level of metrics they love to go into. Arsenal have never beaten a team from a lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday on BT Sport away from home in the Birmingham region before, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I know it, and I'm saying that, but it plays on much like you, James, it plays on my mind constantly. It's like, oh, well, that's it. We never win these sort of games. But this team is different. And as Amanda said earlier, they came out early. And the commentators made an actual comment of that. They were like, Arteta sent his men out 3 or 4 minutes early. And that was almost a bit of a sign as to this is what we're going to get. And it was a different team. It was the Arsenal from the first 19 games of this season. One of the things we haven't we've glossed over, because we're kind of going through this chronologically, is the fact that Nketiah had a header which was just tipped onto the bar. This was an Arsenal team that didn't play well in the first half. We still hit the bar. We still created chances. We still probably created more chances. Well, we definitely created more chances than Villa in that first half. But we come out in the second half. We start applying pressure. And even before we got our goal, Amanda, there were chances. But Talk to me about that first sort of 15 minutes leading up to 61 minutes when Zinchenko scores from a corner. And actually, really interestingly, and I don't know if you noticed this, Amanda, but we didn't go into their box at all from corners. We went short almost all day. That was clearly a tactic from them, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't notice that. I haven't really thought about that. It was totally mind blowing. It was like a game of two halves, as the cliche says. It was it was the Arsenal that we have grown to love. We were dynamic, disciplined, focused. All of a sudden, everyone got a bit of energy, which seemed amazing. And then, I mean, as I said, I wanted Tierney on at half time, but not to the detriment of Zinchenko. But I felt we needed, and then he goes and does that and scores his debut goal when we're desperate. And that was, I would have loved to have been in that crowd. I tell you, I would have loved to have been there, because you could see they went mental. We went mental. I went mental at home. Just could not believe that we then went 2-2. Because then I was saying to Carl, oh my God, my prediction, I'll take 2-2 now. Because we were still, it wasn't like we were 80, 90 minutes in and we were playing brilliantly. I don't know what minute we scored in, actually.
61.
Maybe one of you.
Zinchenko scored on 61.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So we'd only been playing 15 minutes or 14 minutes or whatever. If it would have been 30 minutes, I'd have gone, yeah, let's go for it. We're playing brilliant. We just started to play better. And all of a sudden we're going, and I thought, but we're going to concede because we're just not playing well in defence. I don't know what's happened to our defence. And going back to their second goal, from Emi Martinez to them scoring, we don't make one tackle. Nothing. I mean, how's that possible? Not one tackle. And I think that's my concern now. The fact that Eddie's not scoring, and we really need him to, is less of a concern to me than our defence is. It really is concerning me. However, they were magnificent second half, and I'm so proud, and I felt like an incredible sense of relief.
Yeah, it was a sense of relief. James, just want to get your thoughts, actually, just quickly on the Saka stuff, because he was booted around a bit. Because it was, for me personally, it was probably just after that. I feel like it was just after that goal. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was just on half time when Saka was booked. And he was booked for essentially having his ankles kicked for about the third time. Does there need to be a bit more protection? I know we're kind of veering away from like the chronology of the actual event, but it's something that I wanted to get in because it's something that I wrote down earlier. Or yesterday, I wanted to talk to you guys about, because it feels to me like something needs to be done about this.
I would love to say yes, but the reality of that happening, I feel like, is next to none, because it's been accepted that this is part of his game, so it's going to happen. It's the same thing that happened with Jack Wilshere. It happens with Grealish time and time again. I mean, these sort of combative players that take players on and as a result get fouled and chopped down because they're better than the players that they're coming up against. It's just a ridiculous way of viewing the game, and I can't believe that it's not officiated in a better way. Because if you look at the amount of fouls that were so petty on Saka but were so dangerous, there was one that I think was made by Moreno that was just disgraceful. Like, it was a really, really bad challenge. I don't think he even saw a foul for it. I might be wrong on that, but he certainly didn't get a booking for it. And I cannot blame Saka for reacting in the way that he did, because it's been brewing up. Like, it's been bubbling up all season. I think it was Coutinho that put in that poor foul on him. I just don't blame him for getting up and giving him a shove, because he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And, if you're going to give it, you've got to take it as well. And I'm not saying that, you should go around pushing players, but at some point it's going to evoke a reaction. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what we saw. And like I say, I don't blame him. It must be so frustrating for him to play these sorts of games against any level of opposition and just be constantly debilitated every single time you go forwards and not see the opposition punished for it. I'd love to say we need to see more protection for him, but that's going to come from the officials. And at the minute, they probably see it as, we can't keep giving him fouls, because if we do, then the game's going to get stopped every 5 minutes. But there's got to come a point where you start doing that to stop people making those rash challenges, because I don't know how else you get around it, because otherwise we're going to dare I say, I mean, Saka is an incredibly strong individual, and he's played every single game for us this season. And he played every single game for us last season. I expect him to make 50 odd appearances for Arsenal this term. But if he keeps getting knocked about in this way, I do worry about him breaking down. And that should be a worry for not just Arsenal fans, but for England fans. Because if we ever want to win a Euros or a World Cup, I mean, we're going to have to do it one of the best players in the world. And that's what he is at the moment. So it's not nice to see. I hate seeing it, but I just don't see the protection coming.
I think that the answer really lies in, and apologies for anybody that's not Lord of the Rings fans here, but the answer really lies in us putting together some kind of a chainmail, mithril style things around his ankles to protect him, because he's going to end up being Diaby'd at this rate. It's only a matter of time, and unless we get, and I don't know, like you, James, I don't really know the answer. Unless the answer is captain, whoever it is on the day, goes up to the ref and just says, do you know what, ref, just heads up. Can you just, I'm not trying to influence you, but just keep your eyes on Bukayo, because this is the 5th week in a row where he's getting little treads on his ankle. So I don't want you to do it. Just keep an eye on it. And it plants a seed. And maybe Arteta needs to start just planting the seed. Maybe we just need to try a little bit of the dark arts by using the press, by using the media, by using players just having a little cheeky word. The old sort of, you'd see it from like the England sort of players that would put their arm around a ref. Mike Dean, you put your arm around Mike Dean, or you put your arm around Anthony Taylor, and you just go, "Oh, you're right, Anthony." Call him by the first name. You're right, Anthony. Can we just to keep an eye on Bukayo, because the last few weeks he's just been kicked a little bit. So just keep your eye on it. Plants a seed. That's what I think is our next kind of thing. But I don't want to keep you out of this, Amanda. Just, is there any final thoughts you want to add on the Bukayo Saka and the rotational fouling and that sort of stuff before we then move on to what happened next, which was the deliciousness of the closing stages of the game?
So with Saka, I think we're only going to get protection when he actually gets injured. It's going to come to it. I agree with you on that. The only thing is, the reason, we all know, don't we? He's not a dirty player. He's not a snidey player. He doesn't do any shithousery. He doesn't showboat. They're trying to get him because he's absolutely brilliant, and they're just trying to chop him down and get him out the game. I do have a fear, as I said at the beginning, my heart goes every time he gets knocked. I say to Cole, oh my God, he's injured, straight away. And you just have that fear. And I was around in the days when Robert Perez got hacked and hacked and hacked and hacked, and then got hacked one too many times and missed out on the last period. I can't remember what year it was.
2001, 2002 against Newcastle.
We won the Premier League. And I've never cried over a player. And when Robert Perez hobbled off, I knew straight away. I knew it. I said, he's going to be out now. And I actually had a tear, because Robert was one of the most influential players in that campaign. However, Saka is just as important, and I can just see it. And I dread the day. What can we do? Yes, the captain does need to speak to the ref at the very beginning and sow the seed. It is something that maybe Ødegaard's not aware of that he should be doing. He's a young boy, isn't he? But he needs to. The thing is, there's such a, you can tell there's no cliques in the team. They are one, and they protect. And Saliba went storming over. You got Ramsdale coming down the pitch. However, I don't know what we can actually do, because for some reason referees do not stop it in time, and I'm afraid I can see a Diaby injury coming.
Yeah, and I mean, all we can do is use the levers that we have within our control, and maybe part of that is Arteta saying, as I've mentioned already, it's Arteta saying, referee, or even if he doesn't say it publicly, even if he just in the tunnel just has a little word with the ref and just says, look, I'm just going to say, can you just keep an eye, because Bukayo for the last few weeks, he's come off, his Achilles has been a bit sore because he's been kicked a few times. So, I'm not asking you to referee him differently, but just keep your eye on it. And actually, by doing that, he is saying, I want you to referee him differently.
Actually, Pete Geary, Chris, look, Eduardo 2008, that happening again scares me. And that's how we're all feeling. He's so important, and he shouldn't be treated like that. Because as I said, he's not snidey, he's not dirty, he doesn't do any shithousery or any showboating. He doesn't actually deserve it. He just doesn't.
No, but he does get booed by away fans quite a lot, which I find really ironic because but that's just
they think he's acting.
It's probably just I'm probably going to get like a few people in the comments now, but it's probably just sort of northern fans that get grumpy because he's a talented guy from London. But I'll move on. I'll gloss over that. But let's move on to the more pleasant stuff now. I want you, Mr. Cook, to talk to me about the closing stages of the game, but I want specific reference to the impact of Martinelli coming on, because I thought that made a big difference. Trossard is a good player. You can see how he adds value to our team. He can he's very good at dropping a shoulder. He can weave. He's a very clever footballer. But yesterday, to me, in a way that in the first half, it felt like Tierney going direct on the overlap could be an option against like isolating Matty Cash. Didn't happen. As it turned out, second half, Zinchenko picked up fine. Part of that to one side. But it felt to me, before the game, I thought Trossard playing the right move, bring Gabby out, let him come on, good thing. But when we got to 68 minutes and Martinelli came on, I was actually at the point of thinking, Trossard hasn't been bad, but direct running of Martinelli might work. And I do think it did flip the game for us in terms of we put even more pressure on. But just going to get your thoughts on that. And then, if you want to, you can lead straight into that goal and feelings.
Lovely. Set me up nicely there. So, Trossard, like you say, I thought he was good. Didn't think he was bad. I really wanted to see him start. It's exactly what I wanted. Linked the play really nicely, I thought, but he was in an Arsenal team that in that first 45 wasn't playing at the level it can do. And I think the lovely thing about having Martinelli and Trossard is, whoever starts the game, whoever's finishing it is coming on with some form of impact, whether that be Martinelli running directly or whether it be Trossard weaving in and out of players. I'm not really too fussed who starts and finishes the game, to be honest, because I love both of them. I love what both of them can do. And I wouldn't really be against Trossard starting again against Leicester. And you see a similar sort of thing. So when Martinelli came on, like you say, he changed the dynamic entirely. His pressing, his running, it was similar to when he came on against Manchester City and was so influential in that game, in the FA Cup game, that is. I think he's such a good option off the bench because what he's got in terms of energy in abundance, that's coming into a game in the latter stages is a nightmare for any defence. So yeah, he was a big change. But going into the latter stages, just before we touch on the last goal, which I'm sure we're all going to want to speak about in a bit of detail, we had so many opportunities to win this game, as I referenced earlier. I mean, that Nketiah chance where he made a complete hash of it. First touch was poor, and then his dinked effort just goes miles over the crossbar. That was a really good chance. But on the flip side, although Eddie had I think we'd say an under par performance, one thing you will always get with him is he works tirelessly, and his tireless work rate resulted in us having probably the easiest chance we've had all season to score when he nicks the ball off Konza, plays it into Ødegaard, who God knows how he misses it, but he does. He's not the only one that has missed open goals this weekend. Dalot missed one today. Haaland missed one yesterday. So, it's not just an Ødegaard thing, but he really does have to be put in that way. And credit to Ødegaard, because after that, it's not like he went into his shell. I thought he went better and better and better. His performance really enhanced. Fantastic performance from him in the closing stages of the game. Without him playing at such a high level, I don't think we win it. But we just looked ruthless. We were bearing down on goal. We had them camped in. And yeah, I mean, that final goal, he couldn't have come in any better circumstances. I'm almost, in fact, I am more happy that it ricocheted off the crossbar and back in off Emi Martinez. And just touching on Martinez quickly, because he's not a guy I want to dislike. I've got no reason to dislike him. Well, I say that. I don't want to have a reason to dislike him, because I remember when he left and he did that, quite emotional video on Arsenal's YouTube channel just after we'd won the FA Cup with him. And I was like, great, you've got to move to Aston Villa. You're going to play regularly. No hard feelings. I wish you the very best of luck with your career. But it's everything that's curtailed since, where he's just kind of disrespected us at every opportunity. And I get it. Like, you've been at Arsenal for a long time. Difficult. It's been difficult trying to get into the team. You've had very limited opportunities. I thought the understanding was when he left that Arteta was to give him an opportunity starting the season in whatever season it was that he left in 2021. Leno would be on the bench, but he just wanted to be a team's out and out first choice. It's fine. Like I say, go to Villa, do the best you can, no hard feelings. But all the time wasting yesterday, I mean, it just epitomised what he's all about. He's just like a really frustrating, like I said, I don't want to dislike him, but he's made it very easy to not like him. So yeah, I've got no.
I'm just chucking,
go for it. Go for it.
I counted about 5.5 minutes in total in that second half of him time wasting. But go on, carry on, mate.
No, I mean, not much more to add on that. I realise I'm going into a real spiral down the Emi Martinez rabbit hole, but it just frustrates me because there was no reason to have any hard feelings with him. But he's, I don't think there's any Arsenal fan that likes him anymore. I don't think there's any Arsenal fan that sympathises with him in any way because it's all the stuff he said in the media, the time wasting yesterday. You can tell he really wants to get one up on Arsenal, but I thought he left us in a really nice, dignified way. Won the FA Cup. We got a good transfer fee for him. It's a shame because we don't want to dislike him, but he's made it very easy to not get behind him. So yeah, I would say best of luck to him, but I won't because I can't.
I love it. And do you know what? That goal that Jorginho scored, or the own goal off Martinez's head, and then us kind of being like, brilliant, get in there. It real to me had very much Chris Kirkland, Wigan, like Thierry Henry vibes of being like, do you remember that image of Thierry Henry holding the ball up to Chris Kirkland, being like, "Do you want a time waste now? Do you want a time waste now?"
Yeah.
In the last minute, absolutely delicious, Amanda. So we've got the goal. Jorginho has fired in an absolute perler. Gabriel Martinelli teeing out, by the way, again impact player, and then Aston Villa get a corner from Saliba nodding it away. They get a chance, and I'll be honest with you, I was terrified. Were you terrified? And then explain to me your jubilation when Martinelli and Fabio Vieira as well, both of whom celebrated before the goal went in. Talk to me about that final goal.
I will. I just want to go back to Jorginho. So when Jorginho scored, I was in the loo. And I've never missed an Arsenal goal. And I quickly went in the loo, so didn't think anything was happening. Quickly sat down, and I just heard Cole scream in the lounge. And he said, I straight away, he scored. And I was like, I'm trying to get out of the loo quick to come and have a quick look at the goal and everything. Okay, what do you mean we scored? Who scored? Jorginho. Oh my God. And I just want to I'm going to talk about Martinelli in a second because I want to talk about what Gabby I can't say his name. Agbonlahor said. I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the fact that still there are some Arsenal fans that will not give credit to Jorginho. I do not get it. If you are wrong if a player signs for us and you slate him and then he does okay, can you not just hold your hands up and go, do you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong. I wanted Tierney on yesterday, and Zinchenko was brilliant second half. I was wrong. However, Jorginho has done his best, and what he can do. He's not Thomas Partey. He's a completely different player. But he goes and shoots, and it comes off the bar onto Martinez's head. And the reason Martinez is the way he is because he was brilliant for us. There was a quarter of the season he was brilliant, and unfortunately, Arteta didn't want to stick with him, and he left. Not Arteta, it was Emery, wasn't it? Was it Emery? It must have been Arteta. Emery. Oh, it was Arteta. Okay. God, was it that really?
Yeah, 2020 Cup final. 2020 Cup final.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, and Martinez was brilliant. And I was like you, James. I was like, do you know what? He's done brilliant for us. And then he left and goes and does all this. I'm sorry, I've got no sympathy. It's the best thing that's ever happened. It was the best goal of the whole game yesterday. Not only the fact that idiots on social media slagging off Jorginho before he's even kicked a ball, which drives me insane anyway when anyone signs for us, but the fact that he goes and shoots and it comes off Emi Martinez's head is fantastic. And then Martinelli, what an impact sub. And maybe this is the way to go at the moment because he has been, I think he's been under average. I wouldn't say he's been terrible, but he's been under average, and for Gabriel Ablong, oh my God, here we go. Barnaby said it, and he's a United fan. Agbonlahor thinks that Martinelli is rubbish. Right? When I saw that tweet, my blood boiled, and I don't know if TalkSport actually do it for people like me to respond. But I told him, it was disgusting. He has not been rubbish. He's been a fantastic team member and he's worked his socks off. And second of all, the fact that he is allowed to celebrate if he knows he's going to score a goal. I do not understand ex-players going for players. Ian Wright would have done that. Thierry Henry would have done that. Perez, I would have put my money on Perez doing that. The fact is, he was running into an open goal. He looked behind him and he celebrated. I've got no issue, and it wouldn't have bothered me if any other player did it. But yeah, it's because he's an Arsenal player. And Martinelli was, I mean, when you see Martinez coming up, it was the most bizarre feeling because I never sit there. Other teams would have scored. That's how I always see it. I don't think I've seen a goal like that from Arsenal. And because what we would have done from the halfway line is gone, shoot, there's no one in the goal, and he'd have missed it. The fact that we played it up the field like that and he walks it in. Oh my God. I would have loved to have been in that crowd when they went to them, because we were 2-1 down, and to win 4-2 when you just lost to City, and everyone, and I mean everyone, has written you off. Because even Rebecca Lowe said on the show on Thursday night with me, she didn't think that we could do it. She's not sure Mikel could manage us through this part of the season. And I said to her, I'm not sure. It depends. I said, Villa is the biggest game of our season. It really, really is. It was, in a weird way, it was even bigger than Wednesday night. However, I think Martinelli was the most perfect impact sub that we've had in so long. He was brilliant, but the team were brilliant second half. I couldn't, Erdegaard, what James was saying, I would have put my mortgage on him scoring it. Of all people, there's no way he's going to miss that. Yeah, he misses. So we could have won this quite comfortably, but they had the most amazing shot, didn't they? That Ramsdale pushed onto the bar. I didn't even know he'd touched it. It was so fast and so hard. And, you know, the thing with Ramsdale, he's quite a loose cannon, isn't he? He's like, I don't know how to put, I can't think into words what I'm trying to say, but there are times I'm not sure I feel that secure with him, and I love Ramsdale. But yeah, he goes and does that. And if you remember, we're up against Leicester next year, what he only did at Leicester last year with a save like that. So he's capable of fantastic saves as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just in terms of just on your point there on the dominance. I'm just going to read out some stats for those people that are loving a bit of the stats. So we had 67% possession to Aston Villa's 33. We had an 82% pass accuracy to Villa's 76. We made more than double the number of passes that Aston Villa did. Like they made 200. They successfully completed 237 passes. We completed 525. We battered them. We had 20. We had 20 shots on target. They had 20 shots in total. They had 7. Like they're, you know, all of the stats are in favour with Arsenal. You can look at any of the kind of metrics, the XG metrics, all of like that. When you look at this game if you didn't watch the game and you just saw Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 2 at Villa Park, you look at it and you think. And then you look at the stats and you think, yeah, they've battered them. But it wasn't. That is not certainly how it played out. And sometimes you get a bit of fortune. But even though we had fortune, because, you know, Leon Bailey could rocket that into the top corner, we lose this 3-2, and we're all having a very different conversation now. As it turns out, we've got 2 last-minute winners. And as a result, we're now waxing lyrical. But this was a dominant Arsenal performance that got what it deserved. People talked about how, you drew 1-1 with Brentford last week, but you didn't, you know, it was a wrong goal that Brentford scored, but you didn't deserve it anyway. Well, I'm going to flip that now and say, well, today or yesterday, we did deserve it. So, James, we are top of the league because Man City dropped off. They dropped 2 points. We are 2 points clear with a game in hand. We play in a week's time. We play Leicester, which will be a very, very tough game. We'll talk about Leicester in a minute because we've got 10 minutes. What I want to do, just for those people in the chat, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat now. We're going to talk for another 5 minutes, and then we're going to leave the last 5 minutes just for purely your questions that will go across.
Can I just mention something? Sorry, I had it written down. Did you see? Well, first of all, Vieira, who I've always loved. I could see, I just can see he's going to be a great player. Yeah, he's been slated lately, but I'll take the notice of people. That pass was inch perfect. And not only that, did you see him celebrate as well? It's just brilliant. And the thing is, I love it because we're winding so many other people's fans up. And the Arteta with the rolling ball. Have you seen that? Oh my God, that video is just the best. The thing is, we don't care that we're hated. I couldn't care less. We carry on being us. And the fact that Richard Keys is so wound up by us is just the best thing on the planet.
It is delicious, utterly delicious. So yeah, if you want to put any related questions into the chat for the last 5 minutes, we'll do that. James, just a minute or two on the psychological benefits of this, please, this victory.
It'll be massive. I think if we'd have won this game, a bit earlier, perhaps it might not give the team as much of a endorphin boost, if that's the best way of putting it. Because winning the game in the 93rd minute like that, just look at those celebrations after the own goal. It was just beautiful to see, and I think going into London Colney tomorrow, the place will be absolutely rocking. And it's a tough game coming up, and we'll talk about Leicester in a minute, but there's no reason why we shouldn't win that game. I watched them play against United today, and Leicester are an interesting team because they absolutely battered United in the first 20 minutes, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and then concede and just completely go into themselves and get absolutely dominated. So it's really important that we don't let them get an early goal. It's really important that we put that game to bed as quickly as we possibly can do, which we showed yesterday that isn't quite as easy as said as done. But if we've truly turned a corner after this poor run of results, which in isolation has been a very, very small patch. Like if this is it, if this is the poor run of results we've had this season, then it's been a tiny, tiny sample size. I'm sure there's still going to be a few more bumps in the road to come, but I think this has been a really difficult period to overcome. I want to say we've gotten through it. I think that will depend on how Saturday goes. But it's another opportunity for this team to turn the corner. And then after that, it's Everton at home, which, you've got to win. We've got to get justice for what happened.
I want blood.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. I really, really want it. So looking forward to these next two games coming up. Obviously, full focus on Saturday. But I'm so happy for the players. They've really deserved this. Jorginho especially, who we've touched on, has, we've not really spoken about him in great detail, but going forward, I thought he was excellent yesterday. Some of the forward passes he made, even in the opening goal where he kind of pirouettes away from three players, starts to move off. He's a good addition to the team. I think he offers more than Lokonga does. The only thing I would say about him is defensively, that's where he's susceptible, and that's not his area of strength, whereas Partey is such a unique player and offers so much defensively and attackingly. I think Jorginho is more limited in that sense, but that's not to discredit him because he still offered so much yesterday. He put in what was very close to a man of the match performance. So good option to have in the team. I think if we can get Partey back for next weekend and then get Jesus back, within the next 3 to 4 weeks, oh, God, if we can keep everyone fit, there's so much to be excited about. I can't wait to play City again at the Etihad with hopefully a full team, but in terms of confidence, this will do the team a world of good.
Amanda, so just a minute or two before we go on to a couple of questions. I want to get your view on how you're feeling. I'm going to read out the next few fixtures and how important psychologically this was, and then that Leicester game. So we've just beaten Aston Villa away from home. Next weekend, we go away to Leicester. During the week, Wednesday, the 1st of March, we're at home to Everton. At the weekend, at home to Bournemouth, we go away to Fulham, and then we're at home to Palace, and then we're at home to Leeds, and that's when we get into the difficult run. Let's not focus on the difficult run for now, but so that's Leicester away, Everton at home, Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home. Number one, how important was that psychologically yesterday? And number two, how important is Leicester next weekend?
Hard one, that, because really from Leicester onwards, you want to win the league, you got to win all those games. They're winnable. They're the winnable ones. We have to win our game in hand psychologically against Everton because everyone's going, we're 2 points clear with the game in hand. I've been around many years with other Arsenal, and when we've had games in hand and we've not won them, they're not points on the board. They're just a game that you can possibly get points on the board. And me and Carl have been arguing about this. Psychologically, oh my God, if we'd have lost to Villa, I honestly think that we would have been fighting for top three. Absolutely. Oh, top four, sorry. I really believe that because I think they would have just spiraled, to be honest. And it's fantastic. And it's given me hope that we're still on for a fight to try and win the league. That's it. I've never said we are going to win the league. I said when we beat United, we got a really good chance now. But the weirdest thing is, I honestly thought this last week. I really thought Villa was more important than City in a weird way, and I don't know why. I just felt it was. So for me, with the most important thing is teams have got to fight against City. That's what we want. And I will say this now, and I've said this to my City friends: you're not that good. If you take Haaland and De Bruyne out of your team, you're not that good. I didn't rate them. I haven't rated them for weeks. They were galvanised by the accusations sent to them, and I knew again we'd have to play them straight after that. But I don't think that they were that good. They caught us at the bad time. If they'd have played us 3 weeks ago, we'd have beaten them. Hands up, hands down, we'd have beaten them. However, every game, young Christopher, is a cup final now. So every game is as important. I think there's 15 to go, and we've got to win 13, 14 of them. And then it's in our hands if we win every game, but hey ho.
Yeah. So Amanda, let's take some questions. If you want to pick out some questions, but before you do, Cookie, just Amanda said,
I'll put one on there. Okay,
that's fine. We'll ask that in a second. But James, just as a really quick fire one, how many games do you think we need to win the league?
Oh, good question. I think bare minimum probably got to win 11, and I think a lot of that will depend on the results against City when we play them. Obviously, there's a lot of important games in there. That is one of the most important ones. If we go there and win, or at least don't lose, that's a really big result. But a win there would be massive, and that's why I say I can't wait to play them, because when we go there with Partey and Jesus, I mean, to put that into perspective, that's the equivalent of them losing Haaland and Rodri. You'd see a different City side when those two went out. So if we can have everyone fit for that game, which, the likelihood of that is really minimal probably. But if we can go there with our full first 11, I think we've got a really good chance of beating them. So yeah, for me, I think 11 wins should do it.
Yeah, I'm sort of teetering between 10 and 11, and if one of those 10 is Man City. But let's go into questions. Amanda, let's ask some questions. So do you want to fire out the questions?
I'll fire it out. And this is something I wanted to talk about. This is Eddie. Question is Eddie good enough to play for the Arsenal? He works hard, but does he have the required ability? Does he get into any other top six side as second choice striker? That is from Carl Stark. Thank you for your question.
James, you can start with that, and I'll answer it afterwards.
So I'll go with the latter part first. Yeah, I do think he gets into most top six sides as a second choice striker. What top six sides are we looking at? I mean, City, they've got Alvarez, so no, he wouldn't get in there. Who's third? Is it Newcastle still? Yeah, he'd get into Newcastle. Well, they've got Callum Wilson and Isaac, so he would get into Man United because they've only got Wout Weghorst, so he definitely gets in there. Spurs have only got Harry Kane, so he gets in there. I do think he's a very valuable second choice striker. Like I said earlier, what you're going to guarantee with Eddie is someone that's going to work hard. I think what we've just seen recently is that's amazing start he had where he was scoring goals almost at will, was just faded away a little bit. One goal changes it. I think it changes the whole perception of him, but he has been very, very positive. I think it just depends how he finishes this run whilst he's in the team, because if he carries on as he's playing now, I think it makes that decision regarding Balogun a bit easier, because I think there is a real question to be asked as to whether we sell Eddie for 30 plus million and bring Balogun into the fold. Like I wouldn't have too many problems with that. I don't know about you guys. So yeah, I think he's got to get some more goals. Ultimately, he's got to find that end product again.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. To me, I look at the situation we're in. We've lost, and I put this on Twitter the other day, people talking about Arsenal need to get some injuries. Hello, we lost our best striker, the guy that fundamentally changed our team we're up. Originally, I said for a quarter of the season. Depending on when he comes back, it will be a third of the season. We spent a third of the season without Gabriel Jesus. If Gabriel Jesus is in this team, and Nketiah is rotating in, maybe Gabriel Jesus is fit and he played against Man City, and so Nketiah starts today, different conversation. And I think Nketiah makes more of an impact. I think he's running out of steam at the moment. So my gut feel, 100%, yep, happy with Eddie as a rotational second choice. The only problem we've got at the moment is that we are relying on him because Jesus is still out. Amanda, should we go for another question?
Yep, this is from Robert Stevens. Hi, Rob. What is your take on people saying Jorginho goal should have been disallowed due to two of our players standing in the eye line of Martinez and in offside positions? In my opinion, it's pathetic.
Absolutely spot on. Amanda, I'll get you to answer this after me, but I totally agree with Robert there. You can't have that situation because I reckon any sort of long range goal, there's always a question mark around players in and around the box because of the natural ways in which teams are set up. If you're going to disallow goals for anybody standing in an offside position anywhere within a certain range, then you might as well just say, don't bother ever shooting from the edge of the box. I think it's total nonsense. And any muppets that are saying it shouldn't have stood, apart from, well, they're clearly just going to be Villa fans or parts of the media that have certain narratives against the club. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the rules anymore. Offside is offside. You just don't know anymore. I watched a handball at Tottenham today. West Ham handballed it. They didn't even it didn't even look like they went to VAR and stopped the game. It was a Stonewall penalty. Of course, we don't want Tottenham getting a penalty, but it was a penalty. He handballed it. It was so intentional. However, you've got these two players. Are they interfering with play? As the old adage says, anyone on the pitch is interfering with play. So no, I would have gone mental if that would have been talked off. But no, I just want to go back to, because I didn't tell you about how I felt about Eddie, and I'm not happy, if I'm honest. And I believe he's better coming off the bench. And I agree about Jesus and that. I just feel he's running out of steam, and he's not doing it for me at the moment. It's such a shame because at the beginning I was his biggest fan. I think he's going to do this, and he did brilliant. But he did make the Odegaard. He did put pressure on the goalkeeper to pass it for Odegaard to miss. But however, we've got another question from Cole Starr.
Okay, what final question?
I've got one more, but after this, how many points are we getting from the next 5 fixtures? And I would just like to say, I'm the sort of girl that goes one game at a time. All right, I don't look ahead. So for me, it's all about Leicester. Let's not worry about Everton or anything else. So, boys, Christopher, how many points do you think we're getting from the next 5 games?
13. I'm going ambitious.
What, a draw on Saturday? Is that where your draw is?
I think either Leicester or Fulham away will be a draw.
I think I'll have to go 13 as well. I think 13, I'll stick with 13. I think we've got a really good chance of winning on Saturday, but it's that Fulham game that people are assuming is a dead cert. No way. That is a really tough game. Fulham are flying. They're flying this season, and we're coming up against Willian. We all know how that's going to go. So there's nothing guaranteed in that game.
And Leno.
Oh, God.
I've got 2 more questions, boys, and one of them will relate to our prediction at Leicester. So, Richard,
let's go.
Richard Whaley. Not that I care, but why do you think fans of other clubs seems to hate Arsenal so much? Liverpool fans seems to wallow in our defeats. United fans of the same. Don't they have others to hate? Oh, I suppose we're hated because we're top of the league, I'm assuming.
Basically, yeah. There's a couple of, I think people get bogged down. They sort of group fans into social media sort of personalities or profiles. There's this one absolute muppet who's a Liverpool fan. I think he's Irish Liverpool fan. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not interested in him, but occasionally he comes across my timeline because he wallows in it. I think it's just someone like that wants attention. And if he can go for the team that's top of the league, then he gets the attention that he craves. So I don't think the Liverpool fans that I know aren't, wallowing in any defeat or whatever it is. And the United fans, the South-based United fans that I know aren't either. It's just those social media people, and they're the ones that get their voice amplified.
I think it's like Barnaby Jones says.
Yeah, he's a United fan.
We're a proper team, aren't we? Like, United, Arsenal, proper teams. I think same for Liverpool. When you look at City being top of the league, I think the one thing we've all got in common with them is, old school United, Arsenal, Liverpool fans. they're the new kid on the block, but because of the way they've done it, I think we look at them as kind of being, we kind of emotionally, we don't really care when they win the league. Like, obviously, that must be difficult for United fans, but when we've not been in the title race in years gone by, I've really not cared when City have won the league. Like, it gets tiresome seeing them win it year after year after year. But because we've not got a historic rivalry with them, doesn't bother me. Like, I just don't have any real emotional connection to City whatsoever.
True. Right, our
Any
last
questions?
Yeah, Melissa. Our lovely Melissa Broadbent. Question, team against Leicester, and then we can go into predictions for it.
James?
Oh, Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel. I would stick with Zinchenko based on that second half performance. If Partey's back, Partey. Otherwise, it'll have to be Jorginho. Ødegaard, Vieira, Saka, Nketiah, Trossard.
Interesting. I would go all of that, except I would probably have. I'd have Xhaka back in, and I might give Trossard another go. I think I probably need to spend more time looking at Leicester, because whoever they play on the right hand side,
they are dreadful.
Would they be more
defensively? They are so bad.
Do you need somebody who's a direct runner, rather than a tricky, jinky type?
Their number 3, Wout Fez, is awful. If we can just pinpoint him and just run at him, and I'm pretty sure he's a centre half, but he plays on their left hand side, which means Saka and Ødegaard should hopefully have a field day against him. I mean, obviously he turns into prime Maldini against us, but based on what I saw of him today, he was all over the shop. He was really, really poor. So we've really got to attack this Leicester team. Do it fast, do it early. There's goals to be had. They've got so much space in behind.
Cool. Amanda, take us home, because I think that's the questions done. So take us home to the end of the pod.
Should we do predictions or not? I would go with the team that Chris said, actually. I would stick with Trossard, but I'd have Xhaka, and then I'd probably generally what we had against Villa. What's your predictions, young James?
I will go 2-0 Arsenal for this one. I mean, we're overdue a clean sheet.
Chris?
2-1 Arsenal.
Okay. Me. Oh, God. I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal. Okay. I think it's going to be something like that. 1-0 to the Arsenal. Boys, fantastic show. It's been buzzy and interesting, and thanks to everyone in the chat room. We've had loads in tonight. It's fantastic. Please subscribe. Please press like. You're not going to miss our shows. I would just like to say thank you to Ramzino9, who said, great interview with Rebecca Lowe last week. Amanda enjoyed it so much. From Mogadishu. Wow. It is incredible the amount of global fans we have. I love it. I love the overseas fans that join us. You're so welcome. We'll be back next Sunday night. I'll be back Thursday night, 8 o'clock, with Alison Bender from Sky, who has been interviewing our players. You're not going to want to miss this, because she often WhatsApps me and asks me what questions I'd like to ask them. So she's going to be so interesting, and she's a mad Chelsea fan. So we'll be finding out what's going on down there and what she thinks of Potter. She's going to have a little Thursday chatting with me, but me and the boys will be back next Sunday night at 7:30. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all your lovely comments as well. It's great that you enjoy the show, because we do it and we love chatting with you lot as well. Chris, thank you for hosting. James, thanks ever so much. Everyone, enjoy your week. We've got a week off. No more Arsenal till next Saturday at 3 o'clock. So we're top of the league, 2 points clear. As I say every week, enjoy it, because we were only off the top for about 5 minutes. Always Arsenal. Good night, everyone.